Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Shawn Murphy. My guest today is Sandra Wheeler, and she is a professional organizer. We'll meet her when we come back, so stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Shawn Murphy. My guest today, a first-timer on the show, her name is Sandra Wheeler. She represents For Peace of Mind and also is the president of NAPO, correct? Is it
yes,
NAPO?
NAPO Connecticut.
And you're a professional organizer.
I am.
First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shawn.
Now tell us, what is a professional organizer? I can tell you, this complete staff here, there's nothing that's organized about them whatsoever.
Then
so
they need to give me
need
a
you.
call. They do. Many people become very overwhelmed with stuff. They don't have the right processes in place to take care of their things. Paperwork is overwhelming. A lot of my jobs are situational also. So somebody's had a baby, their life has shifted, they've inherited a good amount from their parents' homes. It's usually situational and stress related. And they give me a call and we help them to get in a better place.
It sounds like it's a unique service that's offered because you might not necessarily think that you even need the services of a professional organizer.
Right. Many people don't even know that we exist. We just did a home show a couple weekends ago at the Con College, and a lot of people came by and said, wow, I didn't even know that you existed. Even though there are many programs out there now that do help to bring to light that we do exist and that it is a profession.
Would you be able to help maybe someone planning a wedding? Because they have specific people for that, but there certainly is organizational needs for especially if somebody wants to go very grand with it, right?
Could be.
Yeah.
Many professional organizers have a niche. So some will work with just paper.
Right.
Some really like to work attics, basements, others maybe events.
What's your specialty, your niche?
Mine is mostly residential.
Okay.
I help people with closets and basements and attics and storage units.
You know what, the anti-organizer would be someone who, and you hear this term a lot lately because there are TV shows about it, hoarders.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that would be like an organizer's biggest challenge, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Right? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, with hoarders, it's a very specialized field. There's a lot of training in that area.
There's some psychological issues,
Absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Psychological issues. And the shows are entertaining.
Yeah, and that's really the reason that they're on the air.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's not realistic to take and it's not a good idea to take and turn someone's life completely upside down in a week.
Yeah, and it's not like you're really kind of curing them or solving
Absolutely
the problem.
not. It'll fill right back
You're
up.
You're kind of exploiting them more than anything
Absolutely.
else, right? So let's talk about you a little bit and your background and how you became an organizer into what you're doing now. How did it start for you? Where did that bug come from, so to speak?
Well, I was in the corporate world for 20 years, loved it. A lot of people that I was around, my coworkers and friends and so forth, were going through a lot of changes in life. So they were either being laid off, stress-related, jobs, moving. I just started out helping people that I knew. I said, I can come over and help you with that. So I would spend 2 weekends in a row. One of my first jobs, so to speak, was with a friend. She was moving from a large home in Mystic to a 2-bedroom condo in Seattle and had a full basement that didn't even know where to start with that.
It seems like such a daunting task. You know?
Absolutely, and that's where a lot of folks get kind of hung up. Number one, they'll wait until it gets too daunting. They'll allow it to pile up and think they're going to do it later.
Yeah.
Later never comes. Then they plan to take care of it all in one fell swoop. So
that's the worst thing to do, you know?
And so often I will talk to people and they say, well, I'm going to take care of that the next weekend. I have nothing planned. And we all know where that goes.
Right.
That
Something
never
else
comes.
happens.
Yeah.
And the longer you wait, the more that pile of whatever just grows, right?
Right. And it not only grows, but then you get more stressed about it, perhaps more depressed about it.
Yeah.
And because of the stress and the depression, you can also then cause more damage to the pile than good.
So instead of it growing, if they just take a little bit at a time out, it reduces the problem, and that's less stress, don't you think? I mean,
yes,
it's the opposite.
Absolutely.
That should happen.
And that's where people get into trouble. They allow it to get too big and then want to do it all at once. I love the old-fashioned oven timers that are portable, not actually part of the oven.
Right.
The ones that actually click, and I highly recommend that people just set it for 15 minutes before their favorite show. tackle 15 minutes, and then they can reward themselves with a favorite show.
Right, and then just plop down, and they know that they've accomplished something, even if it's a
Yes.
small amount.
Yes, 15 minutes a day.
It's so easy to say that, though, but it's so, for some reason, difficult to do it because, old dog, new tricks kind of a thing.
Right. I love the Nike commercial, Just Do It.
Right.
So it's just getting started, because I also study feng shui and the whole energy thing.
Right.
And once people start the ball rolling, it often takes on a life of its own.
So, to back up a little bit, you said you started out just helping friends.
Yes.
Okay, and coworkers and things of that sort. So you liked it enough at that point, and then more and more people started, hey,
Well,
can I
it was-
utilize your skills?
It was like breathing air for me. And
From the corporate world that you were in.
well, I think I was just born with the gene.
I think you have to have a special kind of a trait to be able
Yes.
to do that and enjoy it and
Yes.
like it,
And many people said you should do this for a living, and because it became it's so natural for me, it was not something that I ever considered charging people for.
Right, and then you probably had to think, because it's sort of an unknown, thing. How do you even charge people? What do you ask for? What would you be willing to do, not willing to
Right.
do? I mean,
Right.
are you going to get to the point where you're down on your hands and knees scrubbing, aside from just organizing?
Right, you have to draw your own.
Right.
Draw your own lines, yes. And I don't clean houses,
Right.
but once we have cleaned out a space, we'll allow some time to run the vacuum and make sure that the space that hasn't been dusted in 7 years. And I've seen 40 years of dust, so.
And that's the thing. I mean, dust will never cease. So, if you
Right.
don't do it, it'll just keep on piling up.
Right.
As long as the earth continues to rotate, I guess.
That's
So-
absolutely true.
So anyway, so it got to the point where you seriously considered doing this for a living.
Yes. And then I started with some friends and started pricing, and then realized not everybody can see a really messy closet and know that there's a better solution in there.
And was it tough for you? Was there stress for you to think about the unknown that you were about to travel into? Because there's probably not even a lot of research that you could do on what you were going to get yourself into, because it kind of didn't exist, at least as a big business, right?
Right. Well, there is a National Association of Professional Organizers.
Which you are president of now, right?
In
of
Connecticut.
The Connecticut version.
The Connecticut chapter,
Right.
yes. So when I decided to maybe do this as a business, I started to Google, and I realized that there is a National Association of Professional Organizers, and more than 3,000 or 4,000 of us in the country. So I was a little bummed that I wasn't the first to come up with this idea.
Could have trademarked it and everything,
Right, absolutely. So I started taking classes through there, and through the classes and reading lots of books, I realized
This was your calling, wasn't it?
I was with my people.
Yeah, these were your people.
They
so then
were.
it wasn't that difficult for you to kind of segue out of that corporate structure that you were in
Not
every
at
day.
all.
No? Really?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd ever go back.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, listen, there's always going to be people that need your skills in organizing, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
Absolutely.
But, in the beginning of the show, we talked about, people maybe losing their jobs and stuff like that. With the economy the way it is, would this kind of service not necessarily be, at the top of somebody's lists of needs for them? Or
I thought that when the economy hit. I thought maybe it would take a big hit on my business. Actually, business is much busier than it was before.
Is that right?
And I think what is happening is that people, the whole staycations,
Right.
they are no longer able to, zip off to Hawaii or the Caribbean to avoid their
Right.
messy spaces.
Right, which they'll
They're
have to
home
tackle
more.
eventually.
They need to deal with it. I think the shows are also helping
Right.
people to realize that stress is also very tightly related to clutter.
Those shows that we were talking about before, the hoarding shows and those other things, they're helping, I think, multiple businesses. A business like yours, like maid services, things like
Absolutely.
that. It's doing a service for others.
Right.
So.
And I don't think that people should be ashamed in any way. It's like asking for a massage or going somewhere to have your oil changed.
Right.
I could probably change the oil in my car, but do I choose to do that? No.
Yeah.
Does it come naturally to me? No. Are there people out there that are really good at it? Yes. And that's what I
when there are shops on every corner that you can just pull your car into, the quick, oil change places, they're there for a
Absolutely.
reason, because people utilize the services,
Right. And time is money, so it depends on how you want to spend your time. And if you really feel stuck, a professional organizer can even come in, even if you have just a very small budget, and give you some tips and tricks and the process to use when you're trying to do it on your own.
Maybe a good gift for somebody too. Maybe you have a family member or a friend who could stand to use it. Why not? Offer 'em-
Absolutely. Mother's Day, Father's Day is coming up. You have to be a little careful with a gift certificate.
Right.
Because it's like walking up to somebody and giving them a Weight Watchers gift certificate.
Right, you don't know if you'll offend them or not when
right.
you do it.
So you want to make sure that they realize that it is starting to affect.
That there's a problem, right, you know?
Right, and it doesn't have to be, professional organizers are not just for hoarders.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
it may
like you said,
be-
everybody has a niche, you
Right.
know?
It may be the closet that you never get to. It may be storage units that you've inherited from Uncle Ed.
Right.
And you got to get in there and figure out what's in there. And it's emotionally charged for many people, and with a professional organizer, they can take the emotion out of it.
What would you say to someone who just doesn't want to deal with that pile and just wants to just throw everything out? You know, it's been sitting down there forever. They obviously don't need it immediately because they haven't used it, so they're just going to dump it, you know?
Right. Well, I would be careful about dumping it. Recently, I had a client that she had inherited her mother's home, who had inherited it from her parents, and no one had taken care of the first generation items, and then mom had become a bit of a hoarder, and no one took care of that, and then she inherited the whole thing. So at one point she said, I just want to donate that entire bookshelf to the library.
And there was a Rembrandt in there or something, or what?
I started flipping through the books, and she said, I'm not sure I want to pay you to flip through the books. I said, I'm going to do it very quickly, and with that generation, we need to be careful. She went downstairs to take care of somebody else, and I called her back up because I had found bank envelopes full of
money?
20s.
Wow.
$1,400 in the bookcase, yeah.
So she had to thank you for being willing to go through it and also being willing to be honest about it, too. Wow.
And the Waterford Library probably was a little bummed that I took the time, because they ended up with all the books.
Wow.
That would have been quite the donation.
Let's take a break because we have a lot more to get to, and let's also give the people a website of yours that they can go to and learn a little bit more.
Yes, the national website is actually www.napo.com. My website is www.forpeaceofmind.biz, B-I-Z.
All right, Sandra Wheeler, a professional organizer. We'll get ourselves organized here and come back. I'm Shawn Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Shawn Murphy. My guest today is Sandra Wheeler. She is a professional organizer. She owns For Peace of Mind and also is the president of NAPO, the Connecticut chapter. What does NAPO stand for?
National Association of Professional Organizers.
So we were chatting about how you decided one day, you know what, I'm going to leave the corporate world. I'm going to start this business. I have the gene. It's in my DNA. I'm an organizer. So you started your own business, and then how did that get you to eventually become president of the national organization that you are president of now?
Well, when I started my business, I also joined the local chapter.
Okay.
And volunteered right away to be the director of communication technology.
You jumped right in.
I did. That's what I do. Then from there moved into a presidential role or vice president role for a short period of time. We had some people leave the board and
You
went
forced
right
them out,
into.
didn't you?
I just wanted that spot.
Well, you worked your way up fast. So we talked earlier about how you attended conventions and things of that sort. What is a bunch of professional organizers? The convention itself must be very structured and organized. Nobody speaks out of turn, I would imagine.
No.
Everyone's hotel room is completely perfect and neat.
Right.
Yeah.
Very much so. And the luggage is all.
So you're at the convention. There's tons of other people that are just like you. That must be weird in of itself to have that many organized people in one place.
Right.
What goes on there? Exchange of ideas. People, I'm more organized than you are. Look at this,
Well, it's fabulous because once you've been in the business for a little while, you realize it's not really competition. There's plenty to go around. We all have our own specialties, especially in the area. There are probably 5 in this area, Waterford, New London, Norwich area right now. And we rarely stumble across each other.
Yeah.
But at the convention, there were 850 of us. We do conferences, breakout sessions. There's a big expo, so you'll have 3M there and people showing us all of the latest stuff that we can use to help people get organized.
Someone like you, can you actually get ideas from other organizers?
Absolutely.
Is that right, really?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. One organizer I talked to recently, we were talking about dealing with family photos. Everybody's got rooms full of the printed photos that we printed out years ago and just nothing has happened with them. And I have a client now that has lots and lots of photos, so I was talking to an organizer about that. She said she had a client that didn't want to put them in albums, so they found a lovely basket and they put it on the buffet in the family room, the living dining room, sorry.
You hit one of the rooms eventually.
One of those
right?
rooms,
You'll see
I
those
know.
pictures in there.
Yeah. And so when people came over, they would just pull the basket out and they would just talk about the pictures. And people added pictures, people took pictures away. It was a living, breathing, changing photo album.
You know, one thing that I was surprised that you told me off the air before we came on was, although you're an organizer, you're not, I would think that an organizer, a professional organizer, would want to be more technologically savvy, and you're not. You're not a person who's
not as much
doing
so,
the
no.
iPad and things of that sort. You know, the photos made me think of nowadays people put their photos on those. And,
Absolutely. So there's lots. There's APO, Association of Professional Photo Organizers.
Wow, everybody.
It's a brand new
everybody's in it,
organization.
yeah.
The person that just started that organization is actually a member of NAPO Connecticut, and she is starting this whole thing because it's a real need. People either choose to scan them and have electronic albums. A lot of people still want the physical
Right.
album that they can sit and share with others.
Right. A lot of people say that they still, as much as they like the technology, they enjoy opening a newspaper or a magazine or a
Right.
book once in a while, or look at the physical picture.
It took me a long time to start using my Kindle at home.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Really? To
now
read
I
books?
love it.
Yeah, see, now you get used to it. You know?
Absolutely.
You can be even more organized and have many more books on that. So,
Right.
We mentioned your website a little while ago. What is on the website that people can go and learn and see? Is it about your business? Is it about for peace of mind and just how?
Right. I put tips and tricks up there.
Good, that's what I was
I
wondering.
need to add some more because it's been a little while. I also have a whole area on donations. So I find through my clients that many of them are more than willing to let something go. They just really want to make sure that it's going to go someplace worthy.
Yeah, right.
So I
That's a good
have
point.
acquired many different areas where people can locally donate things. There's a great new program in Mystic, Bike Mystic. Have you heard of this?
I
It
think
might
that
be a
sounds
good
familiar.
program,
Yeah, yeah.
actually, where people will accept donated bikes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a free program where tourists can come in and bike around Mystic, and so it's a great way for your bike, if you're not currently using it, for it to get back out there and be used by the population.
You mentioned tips and ideas and stuff. If someone may not quite be ready to utilize your services in an organized way, as it were,
Right.
what about some quick tips for them that they can do on their own?
Okay, we talked about one of my biggest earlier, and that's just start.
Right.
So don't try to take it all,
Right. Don't set aside a Saturday for it.
Right, because so that's big. Do a little bit at a time because you'll start to get energized. Take your own before and after pictures
Good point.
because we will often forget what the room looked like, and you will forget, it will feel like you haven't made progress if you don't take that flat photo. So take your own before and after pictures. It sounds silly, but
No,
it really
I
makes,
think it's a great idea.
it
It's
makes
a
a lot of
reward
difference.
for you when
Absolutely.
when you see it done. You're like, my goodness, this is what it was before.
Right, and I don't ever want it to get back that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paper is a biggie. Paper, you turn your back on paper and it multiplies right behind you somehow.
It really does.
So what often happens is people will go to their mailbox, they'll get their mail at the end of the day, they'll come home, and then they'll need to make dinner, so they plop it on the counter. So don't get your mail until you're ready to deal with it.
Right.
Or have a basket in a corner that you can just plop it and then deal with it every Saturday morning or something.
You know, you deal mostly with residential. In your experiences, what is more in need of as far as organization, a business or a residence so far for you? Corporations usually are they're regimented, so maybe they are organized.
In corporations and businesses, it's more about the processes, I think.
Right.
Employee training, that type of thing, making sure that everybody in the business understands the processes and can abide by them. Those same rules apply to in a home. So one individual may be fairly organized and be very frustrated with their partners because they haven't explained their process or their system to the people that they live with. So every home, another organizing tip is make sure that your home has zones. So everybody that lives there understands where the games go. Sporting equipment, tools.
Everything that could become clutter.
Right. Yes. And a surface that doesn't have a purpose will acquire everything else.
Including lots of dust.
Right.
If it's not,
so
if
a
it's
dining room
neglected.
table that's not typically used for a dining room and often used as a place where families gather for meals will become a catch-all for paper and books and everything else.
Or how about that piece of fitness equipment that becomes your clothes hanger? You know, everything gets thrown on
Right.
top of that.
I've encountered lots of those. When was the last time we used it? What's
Right.
the plan? Why is it here?
You can have a lot of shirts sitting on that thing.
Yes,
Different,
and get the fitness equipment out of the bedroom.
Yeah, keep an eye on what's it's never going to get used, so,
Right.
except as a clothes hanger. Someone asked me a great question, and I'll ask you, because you were giving tips to people who might not be ready to dive in for a professional organizer. But what is the tipping point where someone says, okay, I just can't do it on my own, so I need you? But where does that happen usually? When is a good time to call in?
Whenever
Sandra.
It's really starting to affect your world, your life, your day.
When you get stressed about it,
Yes.
really?
Your mornings, you can't find your keys, you can't find that black pump, and you've got a presentation in a half hour. You can't find the field trip permission slip, and the kid's going to have to sit it out because, or then you have to take the time to drive to school, get the permission slip, sign it there. It takes more time than you have.
That's a good thing about kids. How do you get them in a mindset of organization, because they're the complete opposite? They're more chaos than the organization, unless you can train them. So what do you say about that?
And it's interesting with kids. I just started working with a family that has 2 daughters, and we started in the living room, and I went into her laundry room and we got 3 laundry baskets because I was working with just the mom at the time the kids were in school. And we designated each of the laundry baskets for one of the kids, and then the third one was for the parents. So I said, anytime we find something in this living room that doesn't belong here, we're going to put it in the appropriate basket, and we're not going to leave the living room until we've sorted the living room, and then we will take care of the baskets. So mom and dad, their basket was about half full. The oldest daughter, nothing in her basket. The younger one, overflowing. So we immediately found the issue. Was the little plopper. I've called her my little plopper.
Yeah.
So now I'm working with her and helping her to not be such a plopper.
Right.
She just...
And that's a word that most people don't even know, a plopper.
I think I made it up.
Yeah.
I think she's my first. Yeah. So it's very individual. I just had a new client call me and she said that she was living in chaos. When I got there, I couldn't quite tell where the chaos was.
Oh.
It was upstairs.
Right.
But chaos is different. It's very individualized. So just whenever you feel that it's really starting to affect your days.
We are just about out of time, so I want to give you the opportunity to mention the websites one more time so people can go and learn, and if they decide, utilize your services.
Okay, and it's napoct.net, or that's for finding a professional organizer in your area. You can put in your zip code on the national site, and it will give you anyone within a radius. My personal website here in Connecticut is www.forpeaceofmind.biz.
And we'll put the graphic up on the screen too. Sandra Wheeler, professional organizer. She's organized this show today, so thank you so much for that and being on the show.
Thank you, Shawn.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. I'm Shawn Murphy. We will see you next time. Take care.